In this video, I'll be talking about delusions. In the past, I've made videos about fantasies and delusions before. A fantasy and a delusion are not the same thing. They appear similar, but they're not. They're completely different. A fantasy is a plan that lacks practicality. The plan is realistic, but it needs to be worked on for it to work well. For example, if you want to go on a hiking trip and you think, okay, I'm going to hike this volcano, okay, you can do it, but during the nights it will be quite cold when you are high. That means close to the top. So you need to bring some warm clothes with you. That you have the hiking material, that's good. That you have a camp that you're going to build, that's good. But you need the warm clothes. If someone wants to hike a volcano, but they forget or they don't even realize they need warm clothes, then what they have is a fantasy. They can do it, but they'll be in much trouble afterwards if they survive it. So a fantasy is a plan that's realistic, but it needs to have some additions. It's realistic because you're able to do it. It's not like someone wants to catch a train from here to a city and there is no train connection between here and that city. That would be quite weird, wouldn't it? There needs to be a railway to catch a train from one place to another. So a fantasy would be you want to catch a train from Rotterdam to, for example, Rotterdam to Groningen, and you want to have a one way so that you don't have to transfer. That's what tells you, okay, you want to go from Rotterdam to Groningen with a train in the Netherlands, that's good. There are many railways, you can do it, but you can't do it in one time because there is no train connection from Rotterdam to Groningen directly. So you need to alter your plan. And you need to remember, if you need to transfer, there will be delays. So your plan is realistic because you can do it. There are railways for you to do your thing, but you need to alter your plan a bit. You may have to transfer once or twice. So a fantasy has to do with the how. The how needs to be worked on. That's it. A delusion is something completely different. In a delusion, it doesn't even matter whether something is practical or not. In a delusion, someone wants an escape. And they want this escape so much that they don't even consider whether this escape is legitimate or not. Besides legitimacy, they don't even check whether this escape is going to serve them well in the future. Let me give an example of a delusion. Someone wants a divorce because she says that she's not in love anymore. She doesn't feel any love towards her husband. And then at the court, when she asks for the divorce, the judge asks her, is there someone else in the picture? She denies it. The judge knew better. The judge told her, ma'am, you're in your 40s now. Don't think that now you can easily find someone as if you're still in your late teens. It's not going to work. And the woman downplayed what the judge said, and she said, Your Honor, there's someone else. I'm just not in love with my husband anymore. I can't stand being there. It's not fair to me nor to him. Then the judge tells her, but ma'am, you have children with him. What am I going to say to the children? She said, well, we'll work that out. She now tried to avoid the question of the judge. What's going on here? Here you have someone who has expectations that don't add up. Instead of her facing those defective expectations and instead of letting them go so that she can find healing, she now wants to flee. She entered a marriage with expectations that can't be accounted for, and now, almost a decade and a half in the marriage, She realizes that it's her. The fights she had with her husband, the difficulties she had with raising her children, it's her. She has the expectations don't add up, but she doesn't want to face it. She just wants an escape. She thinks once she's divorced, she'll go out there, she'll play the victim, find another man, and all her issues are over. It's a delusion. She wants an escape that will haunt her. Why? Because she'll be a divorced woman. So every new man she encounters will ask, why did you divorce? Then she'll have to come with a sad story. And even if the guy decides to fall for that sad story, even if the guy decides, okay, what she's telling me, that's true, the guy still needs to face the fact that she has children already. And the guy still will think, okay, but this woman's in her 40s and she married this guy, she had children with him. When there aren't any other men available, for somehow the guy's still going to think, okay, let me check this out. And when he checks it out, he'll find out that her ex-husband is a decent man that works hard, and he thinks, hold on a minute. You left a man that's decent, hardworking, with whom you have children? So her plan to escape is a delusion. If she had a narcissistic husband that tried to kill her multiple times and she wanted to escape, that would be legitimate. But her escape is illegitimate because there is no reason for her to escape. And secondly, she expects that after the escape, things will be as if the marriage never happened. She can just reset time as if time hasn't passed by. She is delusional. Her past will haunt her. The fact that she doesn't want to process her past will haunt her. And the fact that she's rushing out of a situation, leaving damage behind, will also haunt her. So what's going to happen? She gets her divorce, and now she begins dating again, and she's with a new guy. But then she'll find out, okay, this new guy is also in his 40s. He also has a past. Then she will encounter her own defective expectations again. What's going to happen now? Now she'll play the victim again, but now she'll do worse. Now she'll lie about the guy, that the guy raped her, or that the guy threatened her. So now she has become a worse individual. And before you know it, she's turned into a reprobate. That's how it goes with delusional people. Someone that is delusional wants an escape no matter what. They don't care whether the escape is practical or not, as long as they can escape. And if they don't get their escape, they will escalate. So either they escape or they escalate. So there is no winning with such people. Someone that has a fantasy, you can win with them if you correct the fantasy so that their plan becomes practical. Realistic means it can be done. Practical means it needs to be done correctly. Because you can do something, but if you do it the wrong way, you're going to have bad consequences. So someone with a fantasy, you can win with them. You can, because they are flexible enough to alter their expectations. Someone that is delusional, you can never win with them. Because they don't want to be flexible, they don't want to self-reflect, they don't even want solutions, they just want an escape, and then everyone enables their escape. But he or she, that means that the delusional individual, doesn't even consider others. It's all about them getting their escape. For example, you may have a guy who has insecurity issues and he doesn't want to face it. So one day he blocks one of his friends on Facebook. He now turned into the guy's enemy. Why? He's projecting his insecurity issues onto that other guy. So what happens now is that he doesn't want anyone else to communicate with the guy he's projecting. And because he's so invested in being angry at the other guy, anyone who doesn't get along with his anger, he considers an enemy too. Before you know it, he's fighting with everyone. and then he picks a knife and wants to stab everyone. That's someone that's delusional. You have people that are endangered, and you have people who are dangerous. Someone with a fantasy is not immediately endangered, because when they're about to execute their plan, they realize, okay, I need to step back, I need to work on something. Someone that's delusional is dangerous. No doubt about it. So when you're talking to someone, please listen to what they're saying. Pay attention to the words they use. Pay attention to what they're not saying. Pay attention to the context in which they speak. Learn to detect a delusion right on time. Too often, we don't recognize a delusion before. Too often, we don't recognize a delusion until it's way too late. We often recognize fantasies, but we treat fantasies as delusions. We go off at fantasies. We ridicule fantasies. Instead of saying, okay, this is a plan, it can work, but you need to alter it. That is the foolish way we often operate. We attack fantasies and we endure delusions. Because delusions don't appear as delusions in the beginning. With a fantasy, you can see that it needs alteration, that it needs to be worked on. With a delusion, you often don't see that it's a delusion. A fantasy you can recognize immediately. And a fantasy can be corrected, a delusion cannot. Because a delusion is just someone who wants to escape at all costs. So that's why it's important to know someone's motive. Why do you think that when you apply for a job, that they want you to give your motivation? Why? Because they will conduct a psychological analysis on your motivation. If your motivation is a fantasy, they don't mind. Because you're not at a job yet. If the fantasy is too fantastic, then they may consider not giving you the job or giving you the position. But if you have a fantasy, they know they can work on it and you will do your job well or you will perform well. But if they sense from your motivation that you want that job or that position, not for the job nor the position, but because there's something you're fleeing from, then they will not give you the job, even if you have the qualifications. You know why? Because you're only there to flee from something else. That means you're only using that job to achieve another end. And the end you want to achieve is not legitimate and it will not benefit you. So what you're really doing is you are drawing them and their organization in your fleeing. And people that are delusional, they will draw you, they will pull you in their misery. And when you are harmed by their misery, they will attack you for being harmed by their misery because they will blame you and then they'll leave you behind bleeding onto death. That is what delusional people do. Let me repeat, they will pull you and draw you in their misery and you're not even aware that you're being drawn in their misery because they will pretend to be looking for solutions. They'll be pretend that they are changing, things are going better. They will even lie to you about it just to pull you into their misery. And once you're in the misery and you're harmed by it, they won't take any responsibility for what they've done, but for what they've put you through or what they've put you into. They will attack you to relieve themselves, and then they'll leave you to die. That is what delusional people do. That is why it's very important to know someone's motivation. And there's another thing. Not everyone flees in the same way. Some people flee through confrontation. They tell you to your face that they don't like you, they can't stand you and all of that. Why? They're dumping on you to your face because they just need to relieve themselves. So they do it to your face. Others realize that dumping to your face will haunt them, so they will dump behind your backs. Or they will just stop talking to you altogether and they will flee from you. They will ghost you. Where someone flees through confrontation or through ghosting, doesn't matter. In both cases, they're fleeing. And if they keep persisting and fleeing, they are delusional. See delusional people for what they are. Well, that's it for now. Keep agreeing with Christ and be at peace.